Hello everybody, welcome to episode 12 of Competitive Magic with the Carnies. I am Andrea Mengucci from Italy, and join me today we got Javier Dominguez from Spain.
Hello everyone.
And unfortunately, once again, it's just the two of us because Anthony still has some problems with his internet over there in the Australian country. But, you know,
I don't know about
that's
that though.
fine.
I think he's doing some kind of barricade, like for real this time, you know? Maybe he got angry at us talking about finance last week. What do you think?
Yeah, he didn't like too much of the MTG finance that we're going to say, so we're going to raise that and talk about it again this week. Javier, do you know that I just put up an order of a card called Moloch?
I don't know what the card is.
And together with White Plume Adventurer.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Do you know any of these two cards?
It's like an initiative card or something like that.
Alright, yeah, this deck won a pretty big event in London, in Legacy. Moloch is a card from Commander 40k. I'm actually not exactly sure how these cards get acquired. I think you buy Commander decks pre-constructed. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But the card is pretty cool. It's in a X red and green. It comes into play with X counters +2, so it's like a 2/2 on the base. So it's a 2-mana 2/2 that when it comes into play, you fight with a creature. So for 2-mana 2/2, you can kill like a Dragon's Rage Channeler or a Delver.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah, I mean, but like you spend like 3 mana, you got a 3/3, that can kill a 2.
So it's
an X2
like
or something.
a Voracious Hydra that costs 1 less, pretty much?
It's a Voracious Hydra that costs 1 less. Yeah, I mean, it's like a Voracious Hydra that starts as a 2/2 instead of a 0/1.
Oh, true. Okay. So it costs 2 less. Okay.
That's not bad.
It doesn't sound like format warping card, but also pretty good ratio though.
It's gonna be a legacy staple, I'll tell you as much.
Okay. Well,
It's gonna be the next Minsk and Boo. Which, by the way, also in 4 of in the deck list. Pretty wild deck list, by the way. But yeah,
it's like
that's the
all
new
commander
that's a new,
cards.
it's a new Mengucci finance right there. If you wanna get the.
What's the other card? Because white, whatever.
Yeah, the other card is easy. It's a 3-mana 3/3 that you take the initiative.
3 mana 3/3. Wow, I thought that the initiative cards were like super expensive. But the ones that they ban in Pauper were
rare.
like 4 mana. Okay.
Yeah, I put this card immediately in my cube, like as soon as it came out, and like the initiative mechanic is great. We're not gonna talk too much about it because it's I think too long to explain, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I remember trying to figure it out how did it work, and it took me like some minutes to find out the answer.
Yeah, I remember I played an initiative deck in Pauper like 2 weeks after the mechanic went out, and all my opponents were so upset about the mechanic. That was like so wild. It was like, oh, and you take 5 damage, by the way. It's like, what? All right, Javier. How was your weekend? What did you do this weekend?
Well, I tend to forget what I. So I've played some Magic. Was there an Arena Open this weekend? Yeah, I think there was an Arena Open. I also played some local Modern here, so I went 1-3 in my local Modern tournament, and then I won like 1-5 in 5 Open Arena runs. So the weekend didn't start very well. But I also went 0-3 in the Vintage Challenge, so it was a glorious Saturday. But afterwards, I won on Sunday a local tournament of Pre-Modern. So that was cool. Have you ever played Pre-Modern? Or like, do you have that in Italy?
A lot to unpack here. Let's begin by saying that I can't remember last time that Javier grinded so much real paper events.
Yeah,
like
that's
2
true.
days in a row. So that's a good news. I want to say, great that you went out and played some Magic. Let's start with Saturday. You said you went 1-3, but you didn't exactly say the deck you played at the Modern event.
I actually didn't. I'm glad you asked. So I played Burn, which Burn is, according to Mengu's rankings, a very luck deck, as it was stated last week. And yeah, Burn, like, it was very bad. Like, it was very, very bad. My matchups even, like, I played a Mirror, what I lost. I played against Meal, which is supposed, I assume, to be a good matchup. And also against Mono Blue Tron. And then those were my 3 losses. I suspect Mono Tron also should be a good matchup, but I mean I have an idea, of course. But and then I beat some Living End because they mana screwed, and I just like went burn spells 7 times and they died. Yeah, I picked the deck because I didn't have like it's funny because I have like quite a decent modern pool that's MTG Finance again, but like things have changed so much lately. I actually was missing one card for each decks. Like, I had all the cards for blue red except like the Shredder or whatever. So I wanted to build a deck, and like I just only had burn like a full. Any other deck was missing one card, including Tron. So I was like, yeah, burn it is.
Didn't you play like I don't know Blue or Murkta without shredders?
Yeah, I mean that might have been a bad idea. I just didn't want to play like a mirror match and just be like, yeah, they play Shredder and I don't have them. It's like I wouldn't like that feeling. But I should have done that. Yeah.
Card availability issues at the finest.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Saturday didn't go well, a lot of losses, but that's fine. But you rallied back the next day in a pre-modern event. Okay, so I know what's pre-modern, but maybe our listeners don't. What's pre-modern?
Well, I don't exactly know the definition, but it's like a format where everything is old border. Like the simplest way is, like I think the border changed in like Mirrodin, if I recall correctly, right? Or 8th edition or whatever. 8th edition, I think it is. So it's just cards from before 8th edition. There's like a wild ban list because there's a lot of like there's no Force of Will and no dual lands or whatever, and also not like no vampiric tutor. So it's like a very extensive ban list, but it's a cool format. You get to play like nerfed versions from decks. We used to play in extended back in the day. I don't know if you ever got to play those formats, Mengu. Did you like Allure and the Rock or whatever?
First time ever I played Magic was like old format was extended, and I believe it was 2008.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that extended. I'm talking about the Recording Nightmare or whatever extended tricks and this kind of decks.
No, I'm not that old.
Yeah.
Not that old.
I am though, so yeah. I got to play some cards that I never played like a million years. And I played an Allure deck. You know the combo, probably like from Legacy, but it actually used to be an extended combo. So that's what it is.
Yeah, so Alluren, it's the 4-mana enchantment that lets you cast creatures that cost 3 or less for free with flesh. But in Legacy, you win with like there's various different ways you can win, but you just recoup the Cavern RP with like any card draw effect, right?
Yeah, like even in Udo, whatever. Like in Legacy, you played with actual good cards. In Pre-Modern, well, there's no such luxury, so you have to play like cards like Raving Familiar, which is a 1/2 for 3 mana with Echo and Flying that makes them anticipate pretty much. So there's like a lot of bad cards you have to use to combo. So the deck is like a very glass cannon combo. Also like not super fast, but it's fun and it's the deck I had around. Like was the first time playing the format.
Is it only combo, or can you also like win like I don't know, do you have like some Spirit Mongrel or any way to beat down like the Ranged Hermit?
Yeah, so not exactly. It's not very easy because it's also a Living Witch deck, and you need to play a lot of pieces. So I just failed to build a version. It was all theory, but I failed to build a version that could win in other ways. So what I did, though, to play against the hate or whatever, was to add an accumulated knowledge package. The AK is like frantic inventory. Like the more copies you play of the card, the more cards you draw with it. So I put those in my deck to be able to actually dance, if you want to say like that. Like if they play hate cards, I could just grind them, right? Because the combo cards are not very good, but they're still like a 2-1 for 2 or whatever. Like they can just win the game if you have enough card advantage. And also some like Pernicious Deed type of cards. So instead of like trying to feed the Spirit Mongers or like other win conditions like that, I just went for card advantage, which is something we have done in combo decks. Like sometimes it has been done, right? So it worked out very well. Like I even had a board state where my opponent had like Humility, out of Silence or whatever, Lightning Reef and a lot of removal spells. And I eventually, I just want to like draw 7 cards with the accumulated knowledge and eventually win the game. So the deck worked very well, in terms of like what the deck expected to do. But the archetype itself is not great,
What was the event? Do you have like a league that happens every month or something like that
Yeah,
in Barcelona?
yeah. There's here in Barcelona they have like there's one monthly league of pre-modern, so it's pretty cool. There's also like one monthly of old school. I don't know if they even play Pauper. I think they do. Like there's a lot of local Magic. People seen in Barcelona. Like there's a lot of stores, a lot of players. It's pretty cool. I don't often go too much, but whenever I do, I just get it, have a good time. Also, it's good to go to the city on Sunday because you don't get the traffic issues. So, yeah, it's good. I'm definitely, I enjoy going to these tournaments. It just makes my. I just like to play Magic and playing different formats just keeps being fresh for me. So I like them all.
All right. Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, I would also, if I would live in a town with a lot of different scenes, because in my area we only have Pauper. Like it's the only quote unquote competitive scene. So that's the format I play weekly. But I would love to just play all the formats and play every deck. Certainly a fan of that. But time to get back on schedule and talk about the quote unquote real formats, the one that the more competitive formats. Would you say?
Yeah, I would say so. Let's go. Let's start with modern, shall we?
Let's start with modern. Indeed,
All
there's
right.
not gonna be any burn to talk about, but
Come on.
plenty of Underworld Breach.
Yeah,
Underworld Breach.
it's a good
What a
deck.
deck.
I also do not own all the pieces.
You
Because
don't. I mean, I
yeah.
know that because you only own burn decks, but
No,
outside of that,
but Box Hammer is like worth quite a bit. Anthony,
I
maybe Anthony
and
didn't know, but now he
I
knows.
know that. Do you know how much? You do know how much and why I have 4 Mox Amber? Because I built Keith this combo in standard. This was like I don't know, 2 years ago. I remember going to a side event in Vegas, and I was like, you know what? I want to bring the standard deck, and I bought the pieces for Keith's combo. And Mox Amber was €5 at the time, and now it's like 40 or something.
That's a good MTG Finance story. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's gonna happen to the Mox Ambers. They're gonna remain in the same binder, you know.
Forever.
Just so like, the price of the card doesn't really matter. It's just funny to mention it because that's what Magic player loves when their cards accrue value despite you don't sell them. So-
Exactly. It doesn't matter to you, but you can just brag about it or whatever.
Exactly. But the deck that won, so there were a lot of Underworld Breach this weekend. 4 of them made the top 8. 3 on Saturday, with the winner being Corey Baumeister, who streamed the whole thing with Fable of the Mirror Breaker in the deck instead of Ledger Shredder.
That's
And
interesting.
then, the other lists were more streamlined, just guy version. This week we've seen some Gruul versions, some Teamer version, but in the end, just guy seems to be the one that actually has a lot more results.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any idea of like any reason for this to happen this this exact weekend? Do you think like this deck is very good against blue red, or do you think it was just coincidence slash the deck is just good? What is your read on
I,
this situation?
I believe that modern is a very unexplored format. I believe it's very much driven by influencers, as in if a deck gets pushed by social medias and things like that, then a lot of people play it more. If a deck nobody cares about the deck, nobody's gonna play it. So for example, now for color, I think it's seeing the opposite as breach, as in a lot of people are just dropping for color, so the same players that were playing for colors are now trying something else. But if somebody in 2 weeks from now is gonna post something like, won this and that with for color, then a lot of people will start playing it again. It's a good deck, so it's gonna win again. So I think in modern we often see this. We saw it with creativity that kind of disappeared, and then Nasif brought it back, and now it's one of the best decks in the format. We see it now with Breach, with a lot of American players winning paper events, and now the deck gets way more eyes, a lot more people play it, and does well in the challenges. So this is my reasoning.
I can see that. I think also it was actually Cory. I think I've seen Cory championing the deck for a while already, right? Like he's been playing the deck for
Yeah.
like
It's
months.
been Corey, Ross Merriam, and Jesse Robkins, who talk very well about the deck. Not only talk, like Jesse wrote a extensive cyber guide and an article. Sorry, extensive article with the cyber guide, and those really help. Like those articles just get a deck to the people. You know what I mean? Like like you get to know a deck much better if you read like 3,000 words on it.
No, absolutely. Like, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of cyber guides. I don't know if I said it here before, but I'm not. But it's true that if you get an article on a cyber guide, like some decks are kind of intimidating, or like you pick up the deck and you play like a league and you feel like this deck is bad, but the reason is because you were not doing the things you were supposed to be doing, or sideboarded into a non-functional decks or whatever. But having this kind of articles actually help a lot. Like you pick up the deck, you have a sample plan, you have an explanation, and then things are like, this is smooth. Like even if you don't love the deck or whatever, it's always better. I think they really help. Like, and did you say like getting the deck to the people? I like that sentence. That's good.
I remember like, I have ignored Breach for a couple of months, then put it C tier. There was a lot of memes about it, just because the deck wasn't winning as much in paper. Online as it did in paper in this American event. So I felt like it wasn't that good. But now, obviously, with all these results, it's obvious that it's just one of the best decks in the format that deserves the recognition.
So does that mean it will get to tier 1 in Mengu tier?
You will, yeah. I have wrote, actually, funnily enough, today. So I've been brainstorming with these power rankings for a while, and now I actually had the deadline tomorrow. So today I was traveling back on train, and I made my article, and Jeskai Breach is very high. It's in the 5th place in the A tier. So
wow, I mean that's
so, yeah.
I'm gonna say something like it took Yamath's months of just slouting the challenges for you to put it, like tier 1 or whatever. It takes 1 week, so you put Breach. Is there a reason for that?
Or well, it's not really 1 week. The Breach deck has been consistently putting top 8 results in both dates challenges. Like even in the past 2 or 3 weeks, every weekend there was a Breach deck, and the thing is that a lot of people know about it, so it's not that it's taking advantage of the format.
Yeah, it's a deck definitely people consider like when they build cybers or whatever. I was mostly trying to needling you about Yamath. I did not succeed, unfortunately.
I've put Yawgmoth even further. Yawgmoth is a great deck. Actually, my friend who top-8'd on Sunday, Uzama, he told me that he lost to Yawgmoth. His 2 losses. So he did the top 8, so he went like 6-2, I think. Maybe 7-2, I don't know. And both of these losses were to Yawgmoth. So could be that Yawgmoth has a good matchup against Breach.
Could be.
Endurance. Yeah. 4 endurance, just no ways to deal with Yawgmoth. Which, by the way, Corey has 1 Galvanic Blast instead of Lightning Bolt. I guess that could be for killing Yawgmoth. I don't know.
I mean, it could make sense, right? Like, Yawgmoth is among the tier 1. Like, it's among the most played decks also right now, opposed to a few months ago.
Yawgmoth, I would say, struggles maybe against the Solitude, Leyline Binding decks. But those are definitely losing some ground with Yorin ban. So, yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong by knowing how to play Yawgmoth and playing it in the tournament.
Yeah, exactly. I would have loved to play the Yawgmoth in my Saturday tournament, but you know what it is.
Unfortunately, there was no way to play around it.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no way to acquire the cards that you miss for a deck.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so yeah, Breach is a new...
If you want to do it, if you want to acquire the cards for your decks, in the description there's a nice TCG link where you can both support me and acquire the cards for your deck. Not you, Javier. Unfortunately, it's only for Americans. But I'm sure we have plenty of Americans here listening. Okay, but yeah, anything else happened in this 2 weekends? Yes, in these 2 challenges. I would say some more things happened. The 4-color Keruga deck that Respect the Cat came forth with, actually losing to Core in top 4. I watched the match, and it was very impressive. The Breach deck, like Respect the Cat went to turn 2 Force of Vigor on Inerza Saga and a Drum, I believe, on turn 2, and he lost. Yeah, classic, like, you just fly out and just lose to 1-card combo Breach. Like, we don't play 4-color. The one from Respect the Cat is a Reason reversion, so it doesn't have Counterspell. Okay. So, yeah, 1-card combo.
They lose to Breach, eventually.
Yeah.
That must be common, right? With the Breach attrition matchups, like, just play cards and eventually you draw Breach and the game's over.
Yeah, you had, I believe he had Ragavan in play, so he just went Breach, Mox Ember. I believe he had 2 Mox Ember. Yeah, he had 2 Mox Ember, so he just went Breach, Mox Ember, a grinding station that was in the graveyard, and it just won that way.
Yeah.
So it's not something like that, but like it was really out of nowhere with like 2 mana sources or something like that.
That's a little bit like the vintage games, right? Where sometimes breach just makes a win from like, situations where you will not expect it to do so.
Yeah, and the version from Respect the Cat is extreme because he plays Keruga in the companion zone. Keruga, not Kahera, as we're used to. I believe I've watched a couple of his streams. I rate him. He's a very nice guy from Austria. He's also like very good. He has a lot of he during the week he put I believe 5-4-1, and then the top 4 on Saturday. Basically, the reason to play Keruga over Kahira is because Kahira doesn't restrict your deck. Like you can build a deck in the same way. You just don't have to play as Fencoato, which is like whatever, right?
Yeah.
But if you return Kahira and cast it, nothing happens. You just get a free 3/2 that maybe pumps your Solitude, so it's not that big of a deal. Whereas with Keruga, you actually get to use the mana from Omnath, you get to cast it, you draw cards for your Leyline Binding, for your Teferi, and that's it. You just draw like 2 or 3 cards, just like Yorion used to do.
No, that's actually, you just made a good point, right? Like, Kahira is often like completely relevant to the game. Like, I would say the most common use of Kahira is you pick it up to exile it to Solitude, right? Like that's one of the most common use for the card. But Keruga, I actually didn't like it much until you said this. I can see Keruga just being a sort of a semi-Yorion a lot of times, without restricting your deck as much. It might be good.
I played a league with this deck, and one thing you mentioned is funny. There was a lot of spots where I picked up Keruga, and I would have loved if it was white to pitch it to Solitude, and I actually couldn't. I remember that. But also that there were games where I played against twice Rakdos Scam, and in the matchup Keruga was amazing, and I don't think Kahira would have been like close to the same power that Keruga gave me there. Again, like drawing a card for Leyline Binding is super relevant.
Like if you draw 2 cards out of the Epo, that's a 5/4 for free that draws 2 cards. That's a payoff already. That's a good payoff for a commander.
The free though,
companions, right?
Like we say a lot for free when it came to Yorion because your deck like had no restriction basically. Now it's big because you can't play Wrenn and 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not playing Wrenn and 6. Also other cards like Prismatic Ending, Lightning Bolt, Unholy Heat, Abundant Growth.
Yeah,
it's fine. All those are replaceable, but Wrenn and 6 is definitely a huge one.
It's the biggest hit. Because Wrenn and 6 used to be one of the biggest payoffs of the 4-color strategy.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that the deck, like the only Omnath that made the top 8 in 2 weekends was one that wasn't playing Wrenn and 6. It's this one basically. Whereas other 4-color, we've seen in the Energy Circuit, Zach Allen, he split the final with. Basically was blue-white splashing Wrenn and 6. It's funny to say, but it was like that.
I like the deck. I love how the deck looks. I think the blue-white Wrenn and 6 might be the actual hair of the old Omnath decks, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's how it started. I remember Nassif videos with that like 4-color with Archmage Charm, Wrenn and 6.
Yeah, exactly. But now they have binding, so
exactly.
It's the perfect card for that archetype. I think that looks good to me. I also wanted to point that the Omnath deck, the one without Wrenn 6, also plays Fable, which seems pretty important in this deck, right? Like the Fable in this new Omnath / Risen Reef Keruga deck.
Yeah, Fable might seem a little bit underpowered in this deck, I think, although it played out very, very well. Especially, I was able to beat the 2 Rakdos Scam opponents thanks to Fable. Like, they played Blood Moon, and I just had Fable.
Yep.
Which, like, they had to kill the token. Then I got to loot away Reason Reese that I couldn't cast with Blood Moon in play. Then I got to flip it. And, it was another 2/2 in this game where, sometimes they're just low on resources and such. So, it was great. Like, Fabled Mirror Breaker was great. Another card that was impressive was Touch of the Spirit Realm. And maybe some people don't know about this card. I actually used to be playing it in the Uranus deck. So this is the 3 mana Oblivion Ring only for artifact or creatures. But you can pay 2 mana to channel it. Channel means like you discard it and you get to blink any permanent, even from your opponent. So you can kill like a Germ from a Causer Complete, or you can even blink like I don't know if that ever come up, but like a grinding station, if your opponent's going off with breach with the fair in play, you can do
Ooh.
that.
Oh, that's true. That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, I thought about it once, but it didn't come up. And it's also an Oblivion Ring, so you can just cast it. Or you can use it to blink Solitude and Fury. You evoke them, and then you blink them, and they come back in the turn, they do it again, and they stay around.
That sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, so that's cool. Like, you have all those ways to dodge the Kahira restriction. So you play Leyline Binding and Fable and Fire Ice, which are like quote-unquote 2 mana ways to interact with your opponent. You play Dismember and Dead Gone. There are also like ways to deal with your opponent creature in the earlier turn. It has basically the same restriction as the Crashing Footfalls deck, but doesn't have 3 mana 4/4s.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. I wonder if there's a way to like breach those decks.
Well, if you play Crashing Footfalls, you can play Karuga.
Why? Okay. All right.
Yeah. But I think you can play 4-color Rhinos. 4-color Rhinos, by the way, also top-8'd on Sunday, I believe. The list was playing Solitude, unlike usually it used to be playing Fury in those lists. Still plays Sign of Draco, which is a card I don't love, but I guess it dodges some of the hate that people used to be bringing in against the Rhinos, which is the Chalice and Flusterstorm and such.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you're the expert of this deck, but I think these Cascade decks are always going to be here unless they get banned or something. Like, every week, there's not, like, a lot of Cascade interaction. Then next week, we have, like, Rhinos or Living End there. Again, it just keeps happening.
Yeah, this list by Hamburger Young, he's playing with Solitude instead of Fury. And that's strange to me because I found Fury to be, again, when I was playing that 4-color Kahira, the fact that you can cast Fury under a Blood Moon, it's huge, I think. So there's ups and downs for both, yeah.
I think Solitude here is designed to, like, I think the switch was made to combat the Mortite Regent menace. Like, last week, it was Blue-Red's week. Blue Red seemed to claim the spot back to as the best deck or whatever. We can still say Blue Red is likely the best deck regardless. So Solitude is very good against that, right? Because otherwise Rhinos is a little bit weak against that. I mean, it has Binding as well, but it's a card that's troublesome for you. So I will say Solitude is here because of that.
This is true, but I was playing Blur Murktide. I Blood Moon my Rhino's opponent, and they just went Fury on turn 5 and 6, just Arcast with all the mountains. And they couldn't have done that with Solitude. And I remember also doing that when I was playing the Karuga deck. So I actually believe that playing red cards, whether they are like Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Fury, or just red cards that you can cast under Blood Moon, it's a great way for these, Leyline Binding decks to fight the Blood Moon Saber plan.
Do you think Fable could have a spot in this deck?
Well, the problem is that just the same reason why I mentioned it earlier with the Karuga deck. You have an overload of 3 mana play because you have the Fairy, you have, of course, all the Cascade cards that you really want to play. So you don't really have time to deploy Fable early on turn 3, because ideally you want to do the rest. So you ended up playing Fable later. I remember when I was playing your Rhinos, I didn't like Fable.
Yeah, it's too slow. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's hard to build this deck. I was like trying to build this Karuga deck. It's very challenging to play. I think it's a fun companion because, of course, everybody hates the companion mechanic, but companions that restrict your deck by so much, like Karuga, are actually interesting and give you a big payoff when you cast them. Are very interesting to build around.
No, they are. I mean, I'm like not exactly the biggest fan of companions, but they do have some interesting elements, particularly Karuga. Like, I think Karuga is among the most interesting ones, if not the most one. Like, because Kahira often means like you have to do nothing. You just put Kahira, and same with Gigantha, right? Like you play Gigantha if your deck doesn't play any double cost or whatever. But this one is like every single deck will actually not play Karuga. So if you play this, you have to make some concessions, which I think was supposed to be the point of this whole mechanic, even though they tried to push it so much that it wasn't the case at the end. But yeah,
Karuga,
cool.
Gigantha, Yorion, Lurrus, all these companions are free rolls, basically. Like you don't have to think too much about deck restrictions. Of course, Yorion and Lurrus are great. Gigantha and Kaira do not that much, so they're not that good. But Kiruga, Obosh is another interesting one. I guess Giruda too. Like those other companions are actually restricting your deck a lot, which is fun.
Yeah, I think Obosh and Keruga are to me like the sweet spot where they are playable but not great, but can be good. I think those two are the ones that I like the most in terms of design because Giruda is like very bad or whatever, and yeah, Gigantha and Kahira are like too free. So yeah, if I had to evaluate them, I think Keruga and Obosh will be the sweet spot for me.
Yeah, I played Five Color Zoo a couple of times, and the first time I just net decked the player that came second, and he had no Gigantha and only two Force of Vigor and one Fury that would annoy would how do you say like not count Gigantha as a companion, which was weird because like it's not even in the main deck. So I just cut those cards for like Wear Tear, and I had a free companion that it's definitely relevant in the matchups against like Reckless Cam or Grixis Shadow. Having a companion that you can cast it under a Blood Moon is very good.
Yeah, it's a 5/5 also. Like it's relevant. It never looks good, but then you play with Thoughtseize or Counterspell decks or whatever, and it happens to be good. Yeah, I think if you can play it, you should play the Gantha for sure, or Kahira. If you can play it, you should play it. I think that's clear.
Yeah, I remember in Affinity, I didn't like a Giganta just because, like, sure, it's free, but at the same time, you just never. I played like a lot of Affinity in the past, and it was just never relevant. Yeah. Maybe it's wrong, and like, again, Reckless Scam and Grixis Shadow, they are like fine to have. I don't know, but yeah, that was definitely worth just some nice companion talk that everybody loved to do, right?
Yep.
All right, one last deck I want to mention of the modern is Jund Scapeshift by Young Dingo. I don't know if you've ever seen his stream. I really like his stream. He's a modern streamer that streams every day, and he got there in 8th place with actually 4th place with 3 copies of Soul of Windgrace. Yeah, that's a very powerful card that like nobody gets to play because Jund isn't really a deck. It's a 4 mana 5/4. When it comes into play or attacks, you can reanimate any land from any graveyard. So it like ramps you and has a bunch of abilities. So it's a sweet card. You're also playing Wish and Scapeshift to kill your opponent on the spot, as well as Dryad and Titan to fetch up the Valakuts. So I love this deck, and I place it quite high in my power ranking because even if it used to be great against 4-color Omnath, which is now less play, I think it's still like a very good deck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Looking at this deck list, it just feels to me like this player has made this deck better, like right away, like straight. Like I don't think this is a matter of like, this is gonna be better against some decks, which is of course gonna be true to some extent. But I think this version is better. Like Soul of Greengrace is a perfect card for this deck, which was always lacking like mid-game threats. Cards that are relevant and enough to win the game, but also synergistic with the rest of the deck. So I think that's good. Also, on top of that, the deck picks up 2 Terminates, which definitely will help in the matchups like Blue-Red Murder and such. So yeah, I mean, I like what's going on here. I'm not the biggest fan of the Valakut strategies, but this one, I mean, this looks good.
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways you can build your Scapeshift deck. Either it's Steamer Scapeshift or like Titan Shift, or in this case, there's Jund's Scapeshift that might just be straight up better than Titan Shift. I like this deck. I like this guy. I hope I definitely want to try this Jund, because when you say the word Jund, people go like, "Oh, Jund." It's not exactly the type of Jund deck we used to be, but also like. Yeah, just Dryad and Grove by itself, it's so good, like, so good. You just go Dryad with Valakut, you play a fetch and you shoot 6 damage right there.
Yeah, exactly. This is just very good at going over the top of everything. And, well, I don't know how relevant that is against decks like Breach, but it definitely will put a lot of pressure on the Keruga decks. When you play the Keruga version against this, your chances to win are definitely not very good.
Yeah, no, for sure. This is so good against the Omnath decks. But yeah, Breach might be... I mean, I've seen Dingo win a lot on turn 4. Like, this deck has Explorer, Sacred Tribe Elder. It doesn't play Search for Tomorrow, But a lot of ways to ramp up to 7 lands on turn 4 and go wish, escape, shift, game over.
Yeah, but also one card I want to point out a little bit is like Hidetsugu consumes all from the sideboard to get with the wish, which is something you can get with the black splash. I think that card can actually be good because it deals with the rhinos. There's a lot of small things. It deals with hammer, which is a rough matchup for this deck. Like that card, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the black splash payoff is from that card because I think it can break a game where you will otherwise lose. I think it's pretty smart.
Hidetsugu is a really good card for sure. I splashed that into 5 color zoo is basically black for Hidetsugu, and it's definitely worth it.
But it's actually even with a card like as a wish target because it's a card that even in the matchups where it's good, like let's say against Hammer, where the card's great or whatever, but even if it's good in the matchup, it's sometimes very bad. Like it's sometimes dead because how conditional the card is. But when it's good, it wins a game. That's a perfect card for a wish target, right? That's a card like if you have wish to have access to your sideboard, that's where you want this card. I think that's a very good Hidetsugu consumes all deck, in my opinion.
Or for sure. To round out the talk, we got Menino Ne, the trophy leader that got in both days the top hated with Living End. He also got 2 or 3 hammer in the 2 days and 2 Murktides. Kind of the classics. So we like to definitely talk about the modern decks that are different, but the best decks in the format remain and always do well. Okay, Javier, that was a lot of modern talk. Let's dive into Pioneer, the regional championship Sofia, as well as the DreamHack Atlanta and everywhere else in the world. It's around the corner. The format is Pioneer, and we have a new set, by the way, coming out soon. There's already some preview cards to... Maybe we can actually talk about those. Have you seen some of the preview cards they spoilered?
I don't think I have, but I have very bad memory for that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, actually, let's cut this part.
Okay,
so we restart at...
Pioneer again. That's
40. Yeah. Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right, Javier, that was a lot of modern talk. Let's now get into Pioneer, where once again the Garou deck featuring 4 Zika's Chariot, 4 Sky Sovereign got the job done.
Yeah, Zman did it again.
That's cool. Zman did it again. Did you see that Zika's Chariot went from a 3 ticks on Magic Online to 12 in like 2 weeks or something?
No, but that's very MTG Finance, so that goes for you, Anthony. I hope you enjoy your
MTGO Finance, which is the next level.
Exactly.
As well as 4 Ember Cleave in the sideboard. This sideboard is very, very much 4-4-4-2-1 with 4 Leicesters, so many. But I guess you gotta exile that Parhelion the second one way or another.
Yeah, 4 Ember Cleaves also still feel like not right to me, but it seems to be doing well. I don't know. I mean, I understand the card, but it forces a lot of Ember Cleaves.
Wait, I just saw that he won the challenge with 4 Acheron War in the main deck.
Yeah, exactly. That
Do you remember when we talked a few weeks ago about how, maybe you listened to the podcast, about how it started in the sideboard, then a lot of people played Garou mirror matches and they went to the main deck in standard?
I think it was last week, but
yeah,
I think you said this last week. Exactly. Then here we are. This is a new standard.
Yeah. Somebody has to play Doom Foretold now to gain an edge.
I did play into a Doom Foretold deck the other day. I thought of you. As per Doom Foretold, they played Omen of the Sea, then they played like whatever other card that was not very good, and then played Doom Foretold, and I don't know, not much else.
See, you sacrifice Omen of the Sea to gain value.
They did get some value. That's true, but they did not win the game. Fortunately for them.
What did they replace the Acheron War with? I'm not seeing it.
So the Reckless Stormseeker.
Oh, wow.
They replaced the Stormseeker for this. I assume the idea is, since a lot of creature matchups are like among the most common, he just wanted to be able to win those. And Reckless Stormseeker, it's good in terms of like gold fishing with vehicles and such, but of course if they have a blocker, well, it's worse for obvious reasons. So I assume that's the reason behind the changes. Also, the
cool.
one less Motobolt, small changes in the mana base, not big things, but I assume this
Yeah.
person is just trying those cards.
Yeah, I mean, they're winning a lot, and that's cool. That's cool. Definitely, you still see the same decks over and over. Mono green, Rakdos, Phoenix, Mono white. You know, like the pillar of the format. But you do sometimes see a new deck coming up. Like we see a Goblins deck that made the top 8. Pretty well rounded. 23 lands, 37 creatures.
Yeah, these goblins is like very traditional goblins. Like this is goblin pile driver, goblin guard chief type of goblin deck. This is not muxes because it's illegal. It's just like good old honest red goblins attacking people. You know?
Yeah. Foundry Street Denizen, which is the one that we have in Pauper Cube, right? One that you play red creature gets pumped. You have Ringleader to draw. I mean, you have 37 goblins, so you're gonna draw a lot of cards with a Ringleader for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think this, like, for starters, I think this deck should probably play one or two more lands. I understand you don't want to flood, but, like, playing Ringleader always struck to me like you want to play the card as soon as possible to actually rush after the Ringleader. And I think Battlecry Goblin also very good with lands.
Especially when your lands are, like, Mutable, Den of the Bugbear, Sokenzan, like, you really don't flood. I mean, obviously you do flood, but there's not, like, it's not that you're at 25 mountains, you have only 15 mountains.
Den of the Bugbear also particularly synergistic here because they are both goblins. So with Rumble Hordemaster, they can do things. I think this deck, I mean, presumably looks worse than the classic rule decks or whatever, like other aggro decks from the format. But there are some things I like here, and it might be worth like trying because it's just like a, you know, like there's some synergies, and this can kill very fast. Like Guard Chief into Pile Driver, we know what it does. But the fact that Horde Master makes all these like fast cards better in the late game might make an impact on how this deck works. Because the other aggro decks, when they stop your ambush, your onslaught or whatever, then you're full of one drops and you die. But here with the Horde Master, you can maybe grind, you know, like you sack them to a Prospector, flip another Goblin, play another Goblin, and suddenly you have a new board. Maybe that's how this player went, you know, up to the top 8, because I think that's a reasonable approach.
Modern Goblins, the last Modern Goblins player that top 8'd didn't play any rule that Hordemaster, which is interesting.
Wow.
In Pioneer, I think they're still good because you don't have like Prismatic Ending or Solitude, which are the worst way. Like, if you modern tap 2 mana for a rule that Hordemaster and your opponent just exiles with like a Leyline Binding, Prismatic Ending, Solitude, things like that, it's annoying, of course. But in Pioneer, you don't have Solitude and Binding, so obviously the Horde Master, I think it's more impactful here than it is in Modern or Legacy.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean,
with Plow around too.
Also, you can play like the creatures are like better proportionally, you know.
Also, you have 37 creatures, so if you flip a card, it's most likely to be a goblin that you can cast.
Yeah, I think this is like, you know, like it's a good idea. I don't know how good it is. I will have to play it, but I could see this winning like games from like bad positions, but also being able to go like, you know, Denizen into Pile Driver, into Battlecry Goblin or whatever, Prospector, haste attack, boom, you know, you're dead. So there's something.
Yeah. For sure. The next game, we also have an interesting deck that is the Green and Ignis combo. I remember making a video with this deck a while ago. They have a new card now. It's called Defiler of Instincts. It's from Dominaria United. It's a 4-mana 4/4 first strike. To make it short, it gives all your permanents Pyrexian mana.
All the red ones, yeah. So it's
all
a combo card.
Mana,
yeah, it's one more combo card.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? You know?
Yeah, and then like so you get that one and the Azaret Monument to discount Grand and Ignis, so you can go off. You have Burgi also to go off, and then you can gain infinite life with a Prosperous Innkeeper. You can deal infinite damage with a Witty Roastmaster. You can draw a lot of cards with Reason Reef, Stimpkeen, so you have a lot of ways to go off. You have an Eldritch Evolution to fix all the combos, and you have also Collected Company to pick up the creatures you need. So it's two card combo, 3 card combo. It's good.
It's a cool deck. I actually tried a little bit some weeks ago because I love this kind of deck. So, you know, I like this combo decks that can somewhat grind. Those are my favorite decks. No surprise, I played also that in Pre-Modern. But I didn't feel it was good. But I want to say this deck looks well-tuned. Like you see the numbers, and it might, it's like, yeah, this makes sense to be a one-off because it's not the card you want to draw two of whatever. But I don't know if that makes the archetype good. But at least it's fun. For me, if you like this kind of combo decks, that's a good deck to pick up because you definitely have some challenging situations where you have to decide: do I go for the combo? Do I try to get card advantage? I like that kind of challenges, and if you like them too, I would recommend this deck. Even though I don't think it's good, but that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, remember when I played that when I made that video, it was like a cast company, and I'm like, wait, do I win? Like, you have so many different routes of victory with this deck once you get the Ignis that it's unexpected, let's say.
Yeah, you have like you can combo, but also have the hidden way of winning, which is like just getting card advantage, which is a secret way. You can maybe just play the other side of Beauty, the horn, and just flip cards and see what and then eventually attack. So yeah, that's cool.
Sure. Well, I think that's about it for Pioneer. I feel like it's pretty much the decks are outside of the Acheron War in the Gruul deck. I think the evolution of the format didn't really evolve that much this weekend.
Yeah, it's been like things are slowing down a little bit, which makes sense considering like it was wild like 1 month ago or something. Every week was like, yeah, this looks like a new format, except Mono Green is still here. Like, yeah, we've seen decks like be played a lot, Lotus, whatever, then disappear, Greasefang, then come back next week and like super hot. So I mean, it's a little bit more stabilized now, but I'm pretty sure it will keep changing.
Yeah, 0 Greasefang in this weekend in 2 top 8s, but obviously a deck that's super powerful that can like threaten wins on turn 3. Definitely
luck
scary
deck according to Mengu standards.
It is indeed a luck deck.
All right.
Do we want to move on to Standard? So, for those of you who don't know, this weekend there's Worlds. That is the event that happens in Vegas at Magic 30. A lot of great player involved. The format is going to be Standard and Explorer. Explorer is the arena Pioneer, basically. The event is going to be played in Pioneer. In Pioneer. The event is going to be played in paper.
Is it?
Not in paper, sorry. No, I want to say it's not going to be played in paper. It's played on arena. That's what I want to say.
That's what I thought. Yeah, it's going to be played in arena. And I want to ask you, as the format expert, does Explorer fall into the category of formats you like, or is like Alchemy where you don't like it? So we know, like, I want to know if we should talk about Explorer also when you are out here of the podcast.
Well, I don't really play Arena. Last time I played Arena was during the Neon Dynasty Championship. So I would say that I don't know which cards are legal in Explorer. I'm assuming it's something similar to Pioneer, except there's no Nykthos and something like that.
The beauty of it is like, I play Arena, but I often do not know if cards are legal in the format. I'm like, yeah, is this legal, or I always have to use the filter, so I don't think, like, I'm pretty sure some listeners also that play Arena identify with that, like, you're never sure of which cards are legal and of which formats, which is something that doesn't happen with Modern, Pioneer, and such, to me at least, but in Arena, it keeps happening to me when I play Historic, Alchemy, and Explorer. They're like a big mash. I never know what's going on.
The feature, like, they don't want to know their players much. They just want to enjoy the game in a more friendly way and not in a more professional way. I don't know. I feel like Magic is moving towards that, and Arena certainly yeah,
it does help.
Anyway,
yeah. All right, so there's Worlds, I think there's Draft also, right?
Ooh, cool. There's Draft, Dominaria Draft, I'm assuming.
Yeah, there's Draft, Explorer, and Standard. So, well, I mean, I also have no idea about Explorer. Like, I haven't played much, so we will not get deep into here. I will prepare it if Mengu ever goes away from the podcast for a week. But yeah, I just cannot analyze Explorer because I just don't know what's going on.
Instead, in Standard, we got both winner of Standard challenges were Jund. So the deck that you played at the Arena Open.
Yeah, exactly. Not exactly the same deck list or whatever, but yeah, it seems to be like one of the top decks now. But also, I think it's dangerous to to assume that's gonna be the best decks for the Worlds Week. Like this sort of high level events tend to be different. And so the fact that Jan was like a deck with like a few like sources like invoke disperse or whatever makes me feel like the format might adapt for Worlds. But I don't know what you think about that.
Well, Gracias por Tanto, that one on Saturday, had 4 Invoke Despair, and MTG Holic, that one on Sunday, had 0. So that's a big difference, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like some of the decks are different, and also like even the Esper or the Grixis deck, they are like all different. Like all the 3-color subs are different. I assume that will change after Worlds, right? Like they just I don't know, they will play different builds, and someone will come up with the best deck. I do expect a lot of Fables though for the Worlds.
Yeah, what used to happen in Magic before like they stopped pursuing professional Magic was that there were a lot of the important events, whether they're like GPs, PTs, or even the MPL Weekly, and people would just be net decking from pros. That doesn't happen anymore. So the Worlds is like the first important event in Standard, and I'm assuming the formats will really shape up a lot after the Worlds.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they show up with Grixis, Jaunt, or whatever, like Esper, like we know they're gonna be like those are good players that just put their best effort. Like that's a lot of effort, and that means the decks are gonna be better than the decks built like in 10 minutes randomly. So like
And you are, let's say, people that used to be practicing weeks and weeks for events, and when you come to a PT or Mythic Championship, we would have a deck list that was very well tuned, and it's not even close to the level of tuning that a streamer would put into building a deck. So it's really underestimated the difference between in-deck building between events like Worlds. So like let's say if PV wins Worlds with Jeskai Fires and any streamer builds Jeskai Fire on stream, it's not even like possible to compare, right?
No, exactly. It's not also about the players. It's not about PV or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
if I go to a tournament where I spend 3 weeks doing my best, my deck is gonna be like super well tuned. If I make a deck in my home one afternoon, it's not gonna be the same kind of deck. Even like it's not. As Mengu said, like it's not even compatible, right? So I will expect this level of commitment for this tournament. Like we don't have professional Magic anymore or whatever, but like for these players competing in this tournament, it does exist for these 2 weeks or whatever, 3 weeks. And as such, I think we will see that reflected on how well tuned the deck list will be. Like, I'm pretty sure if you pick up a Grixis deck or whatever, like it will have all the sideboard maps very well crafted and whatever. And that's not always the case when you pick up decks. Like you get like decks that do not sideboard well on the draw in a matchup. I don't think we'll see this kind of stuff in the decks. I always thought, the same as Mengu said, like that the high level decks were underrated in terms of like tuning, and I thought that from like years before I actually got to play like a lot of PTs and such. I already thought that before, so yeah, I completely agree.
That's the reason why Modern, it's the total opposite. In Modern, as I said, it's a lot of driven by influencers and just because people don't have like $1 million tournament. I don't know how much money are in the world, but I'm sure that there's a lot on stake, so people are actually practicing a lot, and that's a huge difference. Like having again like I don't know 40 people, 24 people testing for Worlds means that those people are really just trying their best to get there, and they're just excellent players. So you can't go wrong. And the standard format will definitely change next week, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think after World Standard will likely be defined. I mean, usually what used to happen was like after the big tournaments or whatever, the format will still the same until rotation, like new sets or another big tournament happen. In often another big tournament will not change much. Like remember that like, there was like a big PT or whatever, and then the GPs will stay almost the same like for months, because the format was like solved or defined after those tournaments. I think that we will see that here. Of course, there's always a space for brewing and improving. That will always be part of Magic, but like if they build like these 3-color mid-range decks, they will be the best among the best.
There's still, I think, one deck worth mentioning in Standard that caught my attention. It's Mono Blues playing 22 islands, and this must be like a super budget deck for how expensive Standard is right now, because it's like more expensive than Pioneer. A deck that's like basically commons and uncommons. The only rare it looks like to be Hauti Gene. It's a 3-mana X4 flying. That's a combination between Goblin Electromancer and Enigma Drake.
Yeah, it's a very good card. And yeah, this deck is like, if you play Arena, it's basically 0 wildcards. Like 4 wildcards, you can play the standard. That's pretty cool. I think it's actually good for a format like this to have a deck like this. Like have a deck like Mono Blue. Have a deck that's not like a million wildcards. In terms of, because we all have friends that don't play as much, like they're like, yeah, I don't have much wildcards, but I play a lot of drafts or whatever, like, and they can play this kind of decks. I think that's actually good, to have monocolor strategies being playable.
I mean, every other deck is just basic lands and rares and mythics.
Yeah, FTG Finance.
Yeah, like, it's so... thankfully, there's no more big events in paper standard, but it would be hard, I'm sure.
Yeah, this deck looks good. I don't know how good it is, of course, because I'm not playing it, but it does seem like it should have a decent game against the 3-color piles. All these like Fable decks or whatever. Like Fading Hope is a good answer to like the first chapter of the Fable, and if you fly high, like fast, like with the Gene or Delver of Secrets, you can actually like punish the fact that those decks are slow. Like cards like Invoke Despair, Fatal of Mirror, the Invoke Despair. I said it already, right? So like these big cards, like even She-Holdred is actually bad against Fading Hope. You play She-Holder for 4, they play 1 mana and bounce it. That's pretty bad, right? So there's a lot of ways to punish those cards, and I think these blue decks are packing them, and that's smart. I don't know. I think it might be decent, at least for a week or two.
Yep. Okay, let's go back to the formats where actually know a lot about, which is Legacy. I love Legacy.
Yeah.
Have you played Legacy this weekend?
I did not play Legacy this weekend because I had to choose between the Legacy tournament and the Pre-Modern one, and this time I went for Pre-Modern. Next time I will probably go for Legacy. I can choose between formats. That's very cool. That's how cool the scene here is.
A friend of yours, I believe Baku91 is Spanish, right?
Yeah, he's a friend of mine. Yeah, he's.
You know him?
Yeah, he's a very good Legacy player. He's known from being the biggest lover of bread.
Bread?
Bread.
Oh, bread?
Pan. Yeah, like bread. Like
okay.
the thing you make a sandwich with. He loves bread.
He loves bread.
He will be very happy if he's saying it.
Got the bread this weekend, as they say, as he won back-to-back. That's insane, honestly. He won both Saturday and Sunday, like actual first place, with the same deck. Blue-Red Delver, splashing green for Minsk and Boo in the sideboard. With 2 Minsk and Boo and 1 drop.
Yeah, he's pretty much a master of this deck. Like, he already was among the higher win rates of the Delver archetype, among Challenge or whatever before this. He's been playing this deck forever. Like, he's a Spanish Delver player for ages. Like, that's something like happens with these communities, because I'm sure it happens to Italy as well. Like, we have some players that are local players that actually play very well, but since they don't do stuff in English or whatever, they don't get to be known, but they will be known if they were from other places, like probably American or English or whatever, like when they put content in English. And that's one example. I'm pretty sure you have some examples also in Italy and any country that doesn't speak English or whatever.
Imagine if, like, not that would happen to me, but like imagine if you would be winning back-to-back weekend challenges with Blue-Red Delver. Like, Expressive Iteration would be banned tomorrow.
I hope... No. If I win back-to-back challenges, I don't want the card to be banned.
No, but like that would happen because you do. And because people, like, the amount of attention that your win would get would be like 100 times more than one that Baku will.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Like, me and you are talking about this now. I don't know, many people will listen to the podcast, and I don't know, just, it's really about that these days. Since you don't have like those important events, it's really about just people claiming how, like, for 4-color Omnath was like this, just people claiming the deck was the best deck in the format, despite the results weren't really that much there to say made Yorin banned and things like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, that's the world we live in now, and like.
And that's fine.
Yeah, that's
like,
fine.
There's not much to. That's fine. Like, Blue-Red Delver. Actually, I see Blue-Red Delver as one Delver of Secrets in this list.
Yeah, I talk a lot. Like, I actually talk a lot about that Legacy with him. Like, when I play Delver, I usually play the same list as he does. I've been a big fan of 3 days for a while. He's the one that actually talked me into playing 3 days back in the day. So yeah, also not a big fan of Larver. We talk a lot about this deck list. I'm actually probably the one to blame for the tropical on the sideboard. But yeah, so basically this is trying to be like a Delver deck that has enough pressure to pressure the combo decks, but be able to play like a slower game with counterbalance, and like that's why it plays less Days, because Days is actually very bad with iteration and not very good in the long games. So this deck is prepared to go that way, and of course that doesn't go very well against the Udo slow decks. So that's why he came up, I think, with this plan of like Surgical Extraction and Boos and the Blasts on the sideboard. Also, those decks, you can just rely on the Trop to cast the Boo. You don't need more. So, like that's how this deck is built. And, like this is the same as when Bob Huang was winning with Elver, like, does he win because he's very good with the deck, or does he win because the version is better? Well, we don't know. Like, I don't know, because I know he plays this deck very well, but I don't know if the version is better. That's something
like
always
these
happens,
decks, especially like these decks are so hard to play. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like they make a
it's
change,
so
but it might not be correct. Like maybe he will have won regardless with a stock deck list because he plays well, and but also could be the other way around. We can never know. That's
yeah,
the bad part of good players winning.
there's other more classic blue red version that do not splash for Minsk and Boo, but I'm gonna assume that moving forward, this is actually like people will all have a Trop and 2 Minsk and Boo in their sideboard as the best tool to fight the for color control Minsk and Boo mirror matches.
I'm not sure about that. Like as I said, I'm not sure that's better than other tools, because at the end of the day in Legacy you have tools for everything. If you want something, you can probably have it. I mean, there's Price of Progress. There's a lot of ways to try to combat the slower decks. I think though Miss and Boo is gonna be in the menu. Like we will see some players doing it, and if it's good enough, at least. Like maybe this is a 1 weekend thing, and then afterwards it doesn't happen anymore. Maybe just as you said, it stays forever. I don't think it's automatically gonna be like instantly inside the deck the same way like Mystic Sanctuary is. I think that's a whole different thing though. But I mean, maybe you were right. I mean, I will not count on that, but maybe.
So lately I've been obviously watching results, but also playing Legacy, and I mean, I guess I'm not as good as Baku, but I wasn't winning with Blue Red Dover as much. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let other people complain about iteration and just I'm not gonna touch this deck anymore. But now that I see this Miskenbu Trop, I'm like, wait a second, maybe the flaws that the deck had, which were the fact that you play against this Carpet of Flowers deck, and you try to do your thing. They have both endurance and things like that, and you really just don't deploy. Miskenbu can help there a lot.
Yeah, Misamu matchup against Endurance is particularly good. Like, it's a card that just blanks their Endurance. The same way Endurance kind of blanks a Delver, this one is like, they have an Endurance, you play Misamu, and they just do nothing. Even if they have 2, you can just play Boo 4/4, and it's easy enough to win the game in that spot.
You don't fear Days. Obviously, you do fear Hydroblast, but that already has to go on your iteration and your channeler, so maybe they won't have Hydroblast by the time you cast Miskenbu.
Yeah, the way Delver is built, traditionally, any card you put on it, like any threat you put on the deck, you actually have a good use for it, because any other threat in your deck acts as Lightning Rod. Like they have to answer all the other cards. So if you put Prince Walker, the same way you put the mono cards, like you put like the cord, it also like it's better than it will be in other decks. And I think Bui also is better here than in other strategies for that reason.
Yeah. Well, I still have. We both are going to be playing in the European Invitational, right?
Yeah, exactly. MTG Finance, I hope you lend me some cards.
Oh, what cards do you want?
I don't know yet, but I will let you know.
Okay, I have everything, don't worry.
All right, good.
I have to decide what to play though. I happily see that a couple of 8 cast. Actually, it's the same one. It's Butakov top 8 both challenges with 8 cast, which is the deck I want to be playing.
Last time I saw you playing that deck, you never lost a game. not even close to lose a game. So that's good for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I also like Mono Black. Like that's a deck I'm gonna be playing after we finish the to record this episode. I'm gonna fire up the stream because I wasn't able to stream the beginning of this week. My girlfriend graduation on Monday. Stayed around on Tuesday as well, but I really have to get my videos in because I'll be gone for the weekend as well. So I gotta stream tonight.
All right.
Would you watch?
I think I will watch the first part, then I have like a paddle match, so I will not be able to watch the last part. But I want to see the
evening paddle.
Yeah, evening paddle. Yeah, it's very common here. You know, people after work. Okay. Yeah, they just play in the evening.
Nice. Yeah, I think I am. Basically, I really want to play Cup of Cannoneer. As I mentioned, I wasn't winning at all with Blue Red Delver. I played Blue Red Delver 4 seasons, and I said like, you know what, I don't want to play these blue decks anymore. They were. Again, like Carpet of Flower is a beating. All the white decks with removal spell are beating. I'm like, I'm sure people win with them. It's just not gonna be me.
I have a question for you though. Do you consider Cephalic Breakfast as a deck?
No, not for me. Not for me. No.
Too bad.
No, not for me. I can leave it to you. But if you play Cephalic Breakfast, you don't need any card to lend you.
That's
so
true.
You definitely had something else on your mind.
Okay, yeah, and I want to try other decks. I feel like, you know, the same way you feel like not playing Delver, I feel like trying other strategies in Legacy just because I like to play other decks as well. But if I don't like anything, I'll just default to my trusty Cephalid, which served me well last time in the 4 seasons. So, you know, maybe.
yeah, we finished first and second, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anything else to say? I guess we can briefly mention Pauper.
Your favorite format, Mengu?
I wouldn't say that, but definitely a format I play every week. Weber MTG wins a challenge every other week, basically, and this time it got the job done with slivers.
So is this player winning with different decks every week?
And also with any deck, basically.
That's impressive, actually, and speaks well of the format as well, right?
Yeah, last week he won with Blue-Black Terror. We mentioned how many Blue-Black Terror were around. And this time he said that Slivers is the best matchup against Terror, so he got to first place again. Yeah, pretty crazy.
That's actually sick. Like, yeah, he breaks the format, plays the deck, and then next week plays the decks against that deck because he knows everyone will copy him. That's very, you know, good.
Yeah, the mana base of this deck is terrible. It's 8 forests, 7 plains, and then like some one-off that can, like 2 Ash Barrens, 1 Cerberus or Encapment, things like that. Like it's a draft mana base, but on a 60 card deck.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's Pauper, right?
It's Pauper, but I don't know. You have like other decks to choose from as well, but I guess this one, so.
I mean, if the expert of format chooses a deck and also wins with it, like it's usually for a reason. And even if the mana base is a little bit shaky, if the meta game is like very soft for the deck, it's definitely worth it. And you know, slivers. I will have never guessed like the counter to these broken 5/5 decks for 1 mana removals for 0 mana was slivers. Like I will never ever see it coming.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know why it would be that good. Cause like I guess you have 12 lords. You don't have as many removal spells. I'm not sure.
It must be that. Like the deck was actually very like a little bit scarce in the removal department because it counted on the 5/5s to be good. You know, like also Chainer's Edict must be not great against a deck with 1/1s for 1. Like, you know,
yeah, plated sliver inside Winder slivers.
I'm sure the plated sliver will sacrifice itself for the cause. You know, so
very much +0/+1. all right. Yeah, I think that's it for this week, Javier.
I mean, if I had a Pauper event like you do this week, I will try to play these slivers decks. Actually, do you have it?
I'm going all in. So this week, I'm gonna be in Berlin, so there isn't. I'm not gonna be playing Pauper. Actually, I'm gonna be playing Pauper in Berlin. Now that I think about it, I have brought my Blue-White Cogate. That's a deck that I'm playing for a month now. I really like it. It's my type of deck, and in the last 3 weekly Pauper events, I went 4-0.
Okay,
so
well, that's 12-0
with it. I really like it. Of course, the deck has some bad matchups, but overall, it's my type of deck. And this weekend in Berlin, I'm gonna be playing Pauper, Pioneer, Legacy. No, sorry, not Legacy, Modern. And we have a super fun video idea, which is I play my Band Company deck that I made the final of the PT with in 2016. And Arne Ushinbeth plays Esper Dragons by Shota. So like we're gonna replay the semifinals.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very
So
cool.
that's a very, very cool idea. I hope the video will go out well and will get a lot of likes and views and things like that.
Absolutely.
Because that's the reason why they pay all the trips to Berlin. It's for car market videos.
I hope you have all the fun there, Mengu.
Yeah, for sure. They have a lot of a great community. I don't know if I'll be able to drop it in any tournaments because they always have tournaments. Of course, it's a big city and things like that. But I think there's gonna be a lot of videos. Also, Frank Karsten comes.
Cool.
Yeah. What about you? Do you plan on doing anything nice this weekend?
So I will probably go to Modern again. Like I'm gonna play the Modern event on Saturday. Like it's only a 4-rounder, so I think I'm gonna maybe go Mengu style and make that an habit. I will take a stop for
Very
the
good.
tournament, but otherwise, it's people from I live in a small town, and people from the town are going there to play. So it feels to me like like the F&M experience, but in the morning. So I think I'm gonna go back.
Saturday morning?
Yeah, Saturday morning. So we have lunch at home. So it's just the morning. So it's very convenient for everything. I can play the Mox or whatever in the afternoon. So I think I'm gonna go there. I don't know which decks I will play, but most likely not Burn. I can tell you that.
Did you buy Ledger Shredder last weekend?
I
After
did.
realizing you don't know them?
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
I'm probably not playing Burn. I'm playing other decks. I also, if I play every week, I can change decks every week. So I might just play something wild. Like I did like the Mono Blutron. I'm just saying that.
Okay.
We'll
Well,
see.
I have a couple of Cyber Guide ready if you want to play Blue or Murktide.
All right.
But actually, you are a Cyber Guide 8er, so you won't need them.
Exactly. I will just sideboard incorrectly every single match. That's what I do.
Yeah. So right now in my wish list of a modern deck, there's Young Dingo Titan Shift. I want to try that deck very, very much. But yeah, that's it. Anyway, thank you all for listening. You can obviously find me at Mango09 on Twitter and Instagram. Javier at Javier D Magic, right?
Yeah, exactly. Here the magic, but the bad feedback of the podcast goes to Mingo09. As always.
Mango09. You can also tag Anthony Lee at MTG Bandcard for any MTG advice and also MTG Finance.
Exactly.
advice.
MTG Finance ask questions. That's MTG. Bandcard is the place to ask. I'm
Also,
sure he will
Anthony
be.
says that he doesn't really listen to podcasts, so he will never hear any of what we're saying right now.
Yeah, exactly. That makes it even better. Or worse, I don't know. But anyway, thanks for listening to us. It was a pleasure as always.
We'll be back next week. It's gonna be Anthony as well. We promise.
Hopefully so, unless the barricade still stays. But yeah, we miss you, Anthony.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.